Welcome to the Manhood Neat Podcast. 5 days late. Maybe 4, maybe 4 days late. But yeah, we're late. Sorry, guys. But we are on track as far as what we are going to be having, what we talked about last time. We're having the old Grandad 114. So if we're waiting for this podcast to release before you sip on that nectar, go ahead and get that bottle and get the wrapper off of it. Don't pour it yet. Don't pour it yet, but you can get the wrapper off and have it sitting next to you. I know you're just oozing with anticipation, but we've got a few things we got to take care of first. First one being D-Watt. Good to see you. How you been?
Man, it's good to be seen. Yeah, everything's good. And I apologize again profusely to the listener that we made you wait 5 extra days to taste this old Grandad 114, but also to hear us stammer on. But no, yeah, we're good, man. Just school's out this week, so spring break, and we went out of town for a couple days, and I'm back in the saddle, and they pretty much dropped me off, and then they went back out of town again. So
Yeah.
I think they're coming home Saturday, but I honestly don't know. So yeah.
How long you been batching it now? Is this night one or?
Yeah, day one. Yeah, they
Okay.
left. I mean, we got back. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So they got back yesterday and left yesterday.
Okay. So you're still in that it's okay to be alone. Like it's kind of nice having the house to yourself phase.
Yeah,
And by
just me and the dogs.
yeah, and then by Friday night you're gonna be like, it's kind of quiet around here.
Yeah, I don't even know if it'll take Friday night, man. Like obviously I miss my wife. My girls are fun to be around, and they make me laugh, and we have a good time. So yeah, but we're good, man. What about you?
Oh, I haven't had a whole lot going on. Well, that's a lie. I haven't had a whole lot going on outside of work. Like it's been pretty crazy. Got the new guy hired, and he was like, last Monday we did orientation with him, and he's like, I'm all right, dude. This was like your short day. Tomorrow we're hard at it. And he's like, all right, cool. And I'm like, all right. So we work Tuesday. Our hours start over on Wednesday. So like our work week is Wednesday to Tuesday as far as building your 40 hours. Let's just put it this way. He is working all day, or he worked all day Monday and all day Tuesday this week on overtime.
Wow.
So he got over 40 hours in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So
yeah, baptism by fire, baby.
That's right. But no, other than that, baseball is up and in full swing. So the little bit of time I've been trying to finagle, I have to get harvest done, but I'm not going to miss all the baseball games either. I'm just not going to do it. So tomorrow, for instance, we got a game tomorrow night at 6:00. So what am I doing? I'm leaving the house at 3 a.m. So I can get a full 12-hour day in, and then get to the game by 6 because it's a 2.5-hour drive from the field to the game. So, yeah, but it's got to do what you got to do. But it's good.
Well, then you don't have to worry about the Braves because they're officially the only Major League Baseball team without a win as of today.
Yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody last night about that. We were gaming this one last night, and guys he's like, how you feeling on the Braves? I was like, it's a rough start. I mean, West Coast right off the rip is a rough start.
Sure.
And he's like, yeah. He goes, I don't know if I can watch them. I'm like, I get that it's early baseball. I mean, it's early baseball, but it's like, it's not only they're not even competitive in a lot of these games. I mean,
which is weird because in spring training they were winning. They won a lot of their spring training games. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
they'll be fine. Like you said, it's early.
Yeah, I was looking at scores. I'm like, those are little league scores. That's how bad Kanan was beating up on kids, So, but yeah, it's all right.
As long as no one else runs into doctor prescribed estrogen, I think we should be fine.
Yeah.
Jeez, what an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. So
we're talking about, for the listener, we're talking about Profar. He's a guy that plays outfield. He popped hot for this. Played. Yeah. His suspension is so long that if the Braves make the playoffs, he'll still miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done for the season. So anyways.
The Braves got 2 months to get it right because I don't really start watching Braves hard until Little League's over. So, and depending on how Kanan does, I might never watch him because if he rolls right, if they go far in the tournament in All-Stars, and the coach has already talked about him playing fall ball this year, so it might just You might just never worry about Major League Baseball. Just be worrying about them Telco Coyotes. So
That's awesome.
But anyways, all right. So sorry, listener. I know you don't care about my kids' baseball or anything like that. You're just sitting here waiting in anticipation for this old Grandad 114. So
yeah, but also not sorry because we're friends and this is really the first time we've had a chance to catch up. So
since the last time we did this,
deal. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So listener, you're going to deal with our friendship is what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's
All
right.
Carry on.
So, well, no, do you want to introduce this bottle?
Yeah, it was that. Did you have anything else
about this? Oh, about life?
Yeah, well, just in general,
Yeah. So it's whiskey related. My brother, so our oldest daughter, bought my brother Nate's car from him, right? And so she flew down to Georgia, drove up. She stopped here, hung out for 2 days, and then headed back up to Columbus. Well, Nate sent a care package for the family in there. He sent, as he always does, as a good uncle and brother would do, right? So he sent the candies, or he calls them weekend supplies into the kids, but it's just a big thing of candy. He sent for Liz and Christy some strawberry cream moonshine, which is basically tasted like melted strawberry ice cream with alcohol in it. For me, I can't remember what it's called now. Rock and Rye, I think it was called.
Okay.
But it was a rye whiskey, and with orange bitters added, and honey, and rock candy.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's like 84 proof, I think the proofing was. But I don't know what it costs. I haven't looked it up because I figured it's kind of a jerk move to like, hey, what if you spend on me? I'll look later. But
yeah. I mean, there's no other way to tell how much he loves you.
That's true.
You don't look up the price.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it was pretty sweet. On ice, it kind of tasted like a child tried to make a Manhattan.
Okay.
Like they're like, oh yeah, add a little honey. Oh, it's not sweet enough. What do I have around? Oh, I got some rock candy. Let me stir this in there. I won't say it was bad. Great. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was definitely better on ice. It was just too sweet. You needed some ice to kind of cut that sweetness down. But it was different. So if you see it out there, try it, I guess. It's different.
Did he send you anything else? Because he and I had lunch last week, and he said that he was gonna sponsor a bottle for one of our episodes.
He did not. But
he's coming up, isn't he?
Yeah, so both my brothers are coming up in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll bring it then. Yeah, because we talked about it at lunch the other day. So
yeah, we're doing a ride for a while.
All right, cool.
So, all right, old Grandad 114.
Yeah, old Grandad. Yeah. So first of all, trivia question: do you know who old Grandad is?
I do not. Is he 114? That would
be Basil Hayden Sr.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So old Grandad, the man on the bottle, is Basil Hayden. Both Basil Hayden and old Grandad come from Jim Beam. Basil Hayden kind of is one of those legends in the Beam lore, if you will. So this is one of several iterations that old Grandad makes. They make a 80 proof. They make a bonded, which is 100 proof, minimum 4 years. They make this, which of course is 114 proof. And then this year, or last year, they released a 16-year-old old Grandad.
What was it proofed at?
Cannot remember. It was a higher proof, but I can't remember what it was. I've seen it. It was like kind of overpriced for my money. But yeah, so 57% alcohol for obviously the Iowanians. I watched the interview with Steve Sarkeesian earlier, so obviously people in Austin, Texas, the nerds on North Avenue, obviously. Anybody else you want to throw shade at?
Did you say the Iowanians already?
Yeah, I got those guys. I don't want to leave them out.
Anybody who roots for the Buffaloes. And I don't
I got you.
I'm talking Colorado Buffaloes, not the Bills.
I got you. Yeah. So we don't know how old it is. We think that the mash bill is 63% corn, 27% rye, 10% malted barley. So this is what some would consider a high rye mash bill. And that's about it. This has been around for quite a bit.
All right.
So we both have brand new bottles.
Brand new.
So
I haven't even poured the neck out yet.
Me either. So I'm going to give my cork a shot, and then you can do yours.
Nothing.
God, it sounds so good on my end. I heard yours.
All right, little pour here.
Also, we got to add this to the infinity bottle at some point.
Oh yeah, I'll do that in a little bit.
We
I
can
don't want to do that on
Yeah,
camera.
after it's
you watch
done.
me
Yeah.
spilling it all over
I've already
myself.
added it. I've added it to the spreadsheet. So all you got to do is just physically add it on your end.
Oh, you've already. Oh, I got you on that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Have you put it on this spreadsheet already too? You have.
Yeah, I put it on both of them.
Okay, nice.
Just trying to be efficient.
Yeah, it's like you're professional or something here.
I'm trying.
Going with that nose.
Yeah, it's pretty oaky. Yeah, it's pretty oaky. I did not expect or remember, because you've had this before. I've had this before. I don't remember it being oaky to me, but it is quite oaky.
See, I'm just getting a lot of that. I mean, I get like caramel and cinnamon.
Okay. I don't get any cinnamon whatsoever. I get like butterscotch. It's really weird.
Do you think do you get a lot? To me, it's corny too. I mean, it's got that corn sweetness smell, that corn syrup sweetness smell to it.
Yeah, big time.
I get that rye spice.
I get something like
tingles the top of the nose. Yeah.
Is that what it is? I'm getting something, man. It's unusual. I don't ever really recall getting it before.
You're not getting the rye pepper up in the very top of the sinuses there?
No, it's not peppery. It's actually like sweet, almost like a dark cherry or like blackberry or something. It's very different.
Are we smelling the same thing?
I'm telling you. Also my allergies have been all over the place. Okay, because it could just be.
Yeah, I'm getting that caramel. I'm getting some cinnamon. I get a little black pepper or some type of pepper high up in the nostril. I get that corn sweetness, and I actually get like a little bit of like red apple. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't get hardly any of that. There's not like a made by date on here. Some of them they'll laser stamp it on here. I don't see any. Probably don't expect it to
have. Mine's lot number 1.
Where do you see that?
On the back, right above the barcode.
Mine does not have a lot number on it.
Yours must be very old.
Mine must be
or
really
very new,
old.
because this is lot 1. I mean, this is the original bottle.
This is essentially the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Cheers. It's pretty oaky.
Yeah, I get a lot of oak on the flavor.
I get a lot of peanut. Good night.
Yeah.
It's like
there's a lot of peanut. Yep.
Yes. Good Lord.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like, the more I kind of chew with my mouth, it almost kind of goes from like dry roasted peanuts to almost like honey roasted. Like it gets a little sweet.
Yep. Yeah. I get the rye spices there.
Yeah.
But man, that peanut, it just cycles back too. Like you.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sweet peanut.
And peanut is a thing for Jim Beam. So if you have a lot of, of course, Jim Beam is a huge, they're actually the parent company is called Suntory Beam. So they have a huge profile. They make a lot of stuff, Knob Creek, Basil Hayden, they make a lot of different stuff, and kind of that running peanut note is like a Beam thing.
Yeah. It's
definitely there. That's one way to tell it's Beam.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the finish is the only place I really kind of get away from that peanut. It's still there too, but I get a little that the rye spice kind of picks up, and then I get oakiness. Mm-hmm. I get a little that sweetness. It's an earthy sweetness to it. I don't know if you want to call it like a tobacco or more like a sorghum or something like that, But
right.
But yeah, that's there.
It's kind of a medium finish for me. It's warm, like especially with it being 114. There was not a lot of ethanol, not very proofy at all. It was very nice. I mean, it was just very simple, and but it's like good simple,
Yeah.
like I
Yep.
like it. It, I've mentioned oak several times, but I will say that my palate is not dried out. So it's not super oaky, which is, you get when you get like either high proof or really old stuff. Um,
Yeah, it's more.
so
It's like
yeah, I
more
think
oak
it's
flavor,
nice.
not oak tannin, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
all
So
right,
yeah, I think it's nice.
ready for a score?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna throw out a. See, I know what I paid for it.
So, no.
Yeah, not yet. 61.
Okay.
61.
61. All right. I'm going to be just a little higher than you. I'm going to be at a 65.
65. All right, so that's a solid 63 for a middle score there.
You said 63?
Yeah.
That in real quick while we're talking.
So
It's not terrible.
No, I was looking. So, have you had regular basil, Hayden?
Yes. Spoiler alert, I can't stand it.
Okay, because see, we scored that as 64 back in the day with the other guys.
Yeah, I would.
Knock
If
that
I would
down.
have known that, I would have scored it higher just to pull it up over. I think this is. I think this is better than Basil Hayden. Now that I look at it, I think this is better than old Grandad Bottle and Bond.
Okay.
But I mean, we're here, so
Yep.
this is just how we're gonna do it, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It said again, you're supposed to not look at the other scores when you score something because it's supposed to be out of thin air. But I just
Yeah.
realizing we've got old Granddad Bottled and Bond scored the same as Weller Foolproof.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, professionals. So all right,
Yep.
this is a value bottle.
It is a value
So
bottle.
I spent $29 on this. Where are you at?
Man, what a steal. I paid $32.99.
Okay. So we're good price, and for my value score on this, I'm gonna be pretty high on the value score.
Yeah.
It's good it's, higher proof stuff. It's high proof stuff that's good for a cheap price, and so I'm gonna be 76.
Okay. Before I give you my score, I always try to think about this in terms of value. Like, can it do all of the things, right? So obviously we can drink it neat. The proof will let it stand up over ice. I think the Jack and Coke thing here would work. Again, I haven't had a true slush, so it's hard for me to say. So I always defer to you. How do you feel like this would slush?
I don't know if the peanut would go great with the slush mix. See,
Okay.
it makes sense to me in a Coke, right? Because like some people just put peanuts in Coke by them, like just regular peanuts, right? So the
Yeah,
peanut
love
flavor,
that.
yeah. So I think the peanut taste would throw it off for me out of a slush. I think it would stand up to it. I just don't think it'd be a
Mhm.
great flavor combination. Like
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
I don't like. Would you old fashioned this?
Well, that was my next question: is how do you think this would do in an old fashioned?
Same thing, man. It's just that peanuts, And I'm
Yeah.
now if it was just the smoke, just the oakiness, absolutely. But that
Yeah.
peanut flavor just throws some wrenches on it, I do think it would tea okay. Like a little tea and bourbon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I would. Sorry, I apologize. I forgot to turn off my alarms. But yeah, I don't think I'd old fashion it. I don't know.
Okay.
I might try it. Now, what about this? What about a smoked old fashioned?
Yeah, I think it would. I haven't had a ton of smoked old fashions to really speak intelligently about it. But I don't know. I think it'd be fine.
So what's your value score on this?
What did you give it?
76.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at an 80.
Okay. I was thinking kind of like in that range, but Kanan's baseball number is 76. I'm like, hey, gotta go with it, right? So we're at a 78 overall for the value score. So strong value score in this, pretty decent overall score, especially for the price point. So yeah, hopefully, listener, you've enjoyed it. if you want to, you can either like just comment on this. I guess depending on what podcast platform you're using, you could comment, or you could in a review just say, like if you're on iTunes or the Apple Podcast, it'd be like, I listened to the old Grandad episode and I score blank 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 blank. Or you can send us an email.
Yeah.
Just kind of curious what you guys are thinking, where you would have scored it on both the value and on just the overall flavor profile. We're 0 to 100, with 50 being a true average. That is a Mustang GT. If you're talking the car world, the best way to help us out is to like and subscribe, follow all those good things, comment, share with a buddy. We are on all the major podcast platforms. We are now on YouTube. There's no video; it's just audio, but it just shows a picture. But it's another way to listen to it.
Yep.
I think it's I should know what it is. It's like Manhood Neat Podcast on YouTube. I don't think it's just Manhood Neat. It's Manhood Neat Podcast. But you can also reach out to us. Go ahead.
I was going to say it'd be cool if we had enough people give us a score. We could add like a crowdsourced score to our system.
Oh, that would be kind of cool.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
but yeah,
interact with us on Al Gore's internet.
Even if you don't like watch it on the YouTube, if you would like follow or subscribe to that channel, the biggest reason being is we may in the future, we're still talking about this, but we may at some point in time actually have some video content that goes up there, not just the audio episodes. So it's a place to stay in touch, and it's the easiest place to have discourse with comments. We'll be checking those. So if you just want to have discourse on something, the YouTube channel is a really good place to do that. So again, just go to YouTube, search Manhood Neat Podcast. We have the same little logo we have on all the other podcasts. Stuff will pop up. We appreciate it. Again, it's just another way for us to connect with you guys. Really is the biggest thing on that. But yeah, that's it. And again, we're still on Instagram and Twitter at Manhood Neat, or X, I guess it is. If you want some insight or you want to show your buddies, you can actually try this with Grok 3. You can ask him, hey, Grok 3, what is the Manhood Neat Podcast? And they'll give you a nice little snippet there about us, and you can see how accurate Grok is. But
I'm gonna have to try that. I haven't done that.
Yep. So, all right, moving on. What are we talking about tonight?
All right. So tonight we're going to talk about the kind of basis for this podcast, for our discussion tonight, comes from a sermon that John Wesley did sometime in the 18th century. And the title of the sermon is The Cure for Evil Speaking. This came up in a devotion that I was doing. It's called Jesus the Stranger. And it's a Lent devotion, but it kind of talks about everybody that Jesus was involved with and interacted with in his ministry. And the cure for evil speak, the John Wesley thing, came from his interaction with the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So that's where this came from. I dug into it, started reading it, and I was like, man, I think this would be something cool, just fun to talk about, something a little bit different. So yeah, John Wesley's the founder of Methodism. He and his brother Charles Wesley wrote a just absolute ton of hymns. So most people don't use hymnals anymore, but if you did, you could look, you'd see a lot of the hymns that we grew up singing were written by one of the Wesley brothers. So this is sermon number 49, and it draws from Matthew 18, 15 through 17. So that's kind of a little bit of the background of the sermon. So, just kind of diving into it, really, when you think about evil speak, what is it? I'm sure when Wesley was presenting this to the crowds of powdered haired wig wearers, back in the 18th century.
I got a real quick question for you before we dive into this. And this is just because I'm curious. Does Wesleyan Methodism, did they have like set sermons that were like in a book, kind of like Lutherans and Catholics do, where it's, like every Methodist church was doing the same, like week 1, week 2, whatever? Or do they just have?
No, they're like almost like not like a book of discipline, but almost like a book of order, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's different denominations call it different things. I mean, they do now, because you can take, Wesley's sermons and you can, buy them in a book. But as far as like liturgical stuff goes, there was stuff when we were in the United Methodist Church, there were liturgies and stuff like that kind of in the back of the hymnal.
Okay.
So I guess the answer would be yes. But I know in my experience with the Presbyterian Church, it was very different. It was probably more Lutheran in regards of like, today is the 52nd day of the year. Here's your morning vespers. Here's what is that what you're
Yeah, that's what I'm
talking
asking.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an Old Testament verse, a New Testament verse. There's
And
a
a
verse
gospel.
from the gospel. There's an afternoon vespers. There's an evening vespers. Yep.
Yeah.
So no, not. I mean, I'm sure there's something out there, but when I think of that in my experience, I would more think of the Presbyterian Church than I would Methodism or Wesleyan,
Okay.
that kind of Wesleyan
That's
school
why I was just asking. I've been to some Methodist buildings where people gather. I won't call them churches because of the person presiding over that meeting was not biblically did not meet the biblical qualifications to be a pastor, so I did not call him a pastor. But I didn't know if more traditional, like conservative Methodist churches were more that way, or if they're more like a Baptist church or something like that, where it's we've got a common creed and a common theology, but each church is doing their own sermon series or whatever on their own. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be more the latter.
Okay.
And again, in my experience.
Yeah,
So.
I didn't mean to hijack it. I was just curious. I don't know a whole lot about the Methodist church, so.
No, you're good. So, evil speak. Wesley tells us in the sermon that, saying anything bad about someone when they're not present is what they consider evil speak. And Wesley goes so far to say it doesn't matter if it's true or not. And that part made me laugh, because think about it. Like, there's been times, and I know you could probably think they're probably like flooding through your brain right now, where you're like, man, I know I shouldn't be standing here listening to this, but they ain't said one thing wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's where really Wesley calls us as Christ followers to we need to be a little different when it is concerning gossip and slander and criticism and all that kind of stuff. And really Wesley goes so far, and I want you to give me your thoughts on this. He goes so far as to say that evil speak is just as serious and should be taken as seriously as thou shalt not kill. And the idea is that words can wound a soul. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, Christ even says if you tell your brother I hate you, it's the same as murdering him, right? So I guess what is the heart of the commandment, And I think the thing there too, it says anything bad about someone when they are not present, even if it's true. I think where I would say that I don't 100% agree with that. I mean, I know he's making a generality, and there's probably like times of exclusion, But like, for instance, if my daughter, when she starts dating, wants to date some dude, and I know some stuff about him that's bad, I ain't gonna wait for him to round to tell her that no, you ain't dating this boy, and here's why. You know what I mean? Right. So there's obviously instances where this isn't true, but I would say yes, that especially the gossip, slander, criticism. I'd have the criticism, I guess, is the one thing where I would have a hiccup, because I think we've demonized the word criticism in the English language, but there's criticism can be healthy, and the spreading rumors, slander, gossip. Yeah, I mean it would be the same thing, because if you're saying those things, you're not doing it, and he's not there or she's not there. It's not for their edification. You're just doing it to damage them, and so that is the same as hate, which Christ then says is the same as murder. So yeah, I get what he's putting out.
Yeah. So let's go to the criticism thing. Is there a way that you can offer criticism to someone and it still honor the Lord?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, criticism means to critique, right? So it's not. Okay. We always take it as negative, but so let's say, like I come to you and I'm like, hey, on the podcast you said this, and this, and the way you said it, you gotta stop doing that because it could have affect like someone could take it this way, or you're like it was outside of scripture because of X, Y, and Z. I'm criticizing what you did. I'm critiquing it, right? But I'm doing it
Right.
to invoke change to make you to be better, right? So that that honors the Lord, right? If it's criticism to encourage or to fix, you know, just like if I was,
Is there? Go ahead.
if I'm being a bad husband and the pastor like pulls me aside, he's like, Aaron, hey, like, I just noticed your wife's doing all the work, like you're lazy and all this kind of stuff. You need to not do that because the Bible says X, Y, and Z and
Right.
all this stuff. Like that's him critiquing me, criticizing me.
Yeah.
But is he doing it to better me? Yes.
Yeah, and that would be my question about that is, is this criticism okay when it's unwanted? So like if you come to me and you say the same thing, Daniel, you're not, from what I can see, you're not helping out around the house. It looks like Ashley's doing everything. And I tell you, and I go, all right, cool, man. And then like, that's it. Like, is it still, would you consider that evil speak? Like the reason kind of the foundation for asking that is like, I usually don't give you my opinion unless you ask for it. Like
Yeah.
my deputies found that out real quick when they worked for me, because I don't think it's beneficial to go around and just telling everybody what I think. Now granted, I was a sergeant, I was a senior man there, I had the experience, I was there, I was put there by what I believe is God put me there, and a man who God put in his position put me there. You know what I mean? So in reality, I think I had all the right in the world to kind of spread my opinion. But in my experience, I didn't feel like it was beneficial to the new deputies or kind of the culture and the climate for my shift. There was something I was aiming for. But if you ask, I would tell you. Do you see a difference there, or is that kind of all the same to you?
So I think relationships come into play in this to start with, right? So
Huge.
The relationship.
Huge.
So if I have a close enough relationship with somebody, and they don't ask for my opinion on something, but it's something that, and again, like I'm not talking like you should do it my way because this is the way, but I'm talking about like God has stuff laid out. This is how we're supposed to do it. You're not following suit, right? So I'm going to give an example, and I'm going to leave any no names or even relationships, just to keep it as anonymous as possible for everybody involved. But there was somebody that we were close to or are close to, and this person was basically putting his mother and brothers and sisters before his wife, right? In all things, and to the point that so he could stay closer to his mother and siblings, sent his wife and kid to a different state to go live with somebody else because there wasn't room. Okay. So obviously this is not biblically correct, right?
Right.
And I had a very limited relationship with this person at that time. I mean, we had a very strong connection, but it wasn't like but we weren't close, if that makes sense. And finally, like I just felt like somebody's got to talk to this guy, right? So emailed, hey, you're doing like this, and this are not right. This is what we're called to be. This is as men, we love Christ first, our wife second, our children third. And then beyond that is rest of our friends and family. But there's a hierarchy here of who we're responsible for, who we love and how we love them, all this kind of stuff. Laid it all out, blah, blah, blah. Sent the email, right? Multi-page email. Didn't hear anything for a couple of days. I thought, well, this guy, soon he just like, screw you, delete, right? Alt F4. Well, nope, I get a response back. Thanks for the email, blah, 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 working on it, right? So fast forward, and not solely because of me, but this guy reached out to a different man he was local to him, who was a good, strong Christian, but now the dude's an amazing father, like the home's been restored. This is many years ago, but like it's phenomenal, right? He never asked my input. He never did. But I just felt, like somebody's somebody's got to say something, right?
Yeah.
And again, we had a relationship with both people, the wife and the husband. We knew them, all this kind of stuff. So it wasn't like I just saw some guy at a diner and I was like, I'm writing that guy a letter. But I mean, again, it wasn't asked for, but I felt I needed to do it, and it wasn't me. It's not like the words I said, but it was just a call. It was the person had a relationship with God, and so it was just the word calling him back to him, and God decided to use me in that instance as a tool.
Right.
So I think, there are times that it's not hateful to criticize somebody. The difference would be is if you're criticizing somebody to make yourself feel better about yourself. If like your whole point is, look how cool I am, you should be like me, this and that. Well, now, so that's your motivation behind it, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so, but I would say that obviously relationship is important. Listening to the call of God to do that is something else. I mean, you shouldn't be quick to criticize. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there are times that God will call us to like, hey, like here's the line. You need to hold people to it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. You were like reading my mind, because the foundational part of this is going to be relationships. And so, like you said, you're not just going to hit up some guy sitting at the Waffle House. These are people that people that you are kitchen close with. These are people that, again, you have established relationships with. So I think that's huge. And then the other thing that you just said was, you talked about like allowing, or that God, like you could call people out, and I think that was just, you just nailed it. Like I can't say anything else about it. Like it was a really good point. So, and it really, you kind of like just hit the nail on the head, because speaking evil is wrong. Evil speak is wrong. And we're going to try to use that term because that's what Wesley called it. But, and he spells it out. He talks about how it's harmful to relationships. It can divide families. It can divide friends. I mean, it can split a church, right? We're talking like small C church, and we're talking like big C church, right? We see it in the Methodist church right now. And it's just, it's a problem.
But do you think that the problem
misrepresents
in the big C or the Methodist churches, there has not been any criticism?
Well, there has been criticism. It's just fallen on deaf ears. I mean, I think back to last summer watching the General Conference and watching those African bishops stand up there, knowing that they have literally fought life and death for their faith, for their salvation, and to stand up there and have to present pronouns and do all this. And I mean, some of those guys, the passion behind their voice, you could only imagine, right? And granted, the African delegation of the church at the time is, ultra conservative, and that's how they interpret the Bible. So, but yeah, it misrepresents Christ. I put in here Ephesians 4:29. Let no corrupt talk come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as it fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. So some people like to use that verse when they talk about like curse words and stuff. I think, it's up for interpretation, but I think really let no corrupt talk come out of your mouth really should convict you in whatever way that the Lord's working on you in your life, And I think the other one is it reveals a heart issue. It reveals issues with pride, with jealousy. Matthew 12:34, out of abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So garbage in, garbage out, man. If you've got stuff inside, then, a lot of times it's going to come out, and how you communicate. So Wesley knew that. He talked about that. And then he kind of leans on, like I said, Matthew 18:15 through 18. And I'm going to read that because it gives us the three steps. It says, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained a brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen to even the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and tax collector. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So yeah, Wesley kind of he lays it out pretty clearly, and he says, that the first thing we should do is go to the person, go to them alone, go to them in private, and the idea is to not win here. The idea is that there needs to be a healing moment, if you will, because sometimes, like we have blind spots, and we may not necessarily see what we're doing, but other people might. And so that, to me, that's the benefit of going to someone alone in private, and not necessarily out there in public in front of everybody. I think that, one of the more like modern problems is like group text, and if someone says something to you, instead of just blasting it out on the group text, like, these phones have the ability, you can text somebody one-on-one, and I think that's just another kind of more like modern solution to this. What do you think?
I think texting's instead of having a face-to-face conversation, is a cop out.
Yeah.
But I get your analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah. But no, absolutely. I mean, like, and that principle is even carried into just any leadership training, right? Like you're always told to praise in public and admonish in private. And so, so it's true. I mean, and the best thing is, like you said, is, I mean, I've had a lot of times where either I've been confronted privately by somebody, or vice versa. And especially if it's something like where it's not like a theological error, but it's more like a, hey, you made so and so mad, and you're like, I'm mad at you for this, or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of times we find out it's just a misunderstanding. Like, and normally it was because I'd be like, yeah, I said that, but sarcasm is my love language. So you, but and as opposed to being like it, and you get rid of the embarrassment aspect of it, right? And so, because sometimes somebody will, might come and say, hey, we need to talk about this. Well, it's not that big of a deal, but you just embarrassed me in front of everybody, so now I'm really ticked at you, right? So,
yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Like, they go to them alone. I mean, obviously we're supposed to because it's scripture, but it just makes sense too. Like, it's almost like God knew how we're wired.
Man, it's weird. It's almost like He made us, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of weird. Yeah. So the next thing is take one or two others. If they won't listen, the idea and what Wesley's trying to get us to understand here is that, we need to bring a couple of trusted people. This isn't an opportunity to bring all these just random people in. I mean, we're talking about, a band of brothers, essentially, to where there's going to be 3 or 4 people, and we're going to have a conversation, and it's not going to be I always think about like How I Met Your Mother, where they would kind of trick you to coming into the room, and then they're all holding the intervention banner.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily that, but it is an intervention in the sense of, like, we've been praying for you, we've been praying about this, we're trying to get you to understand where we're coming from, and again, there might be a blind spot here.
Yep, absolutely. And that's like I said, it's not a mob, right? But it's brothers. It's brothers. And very much is it could be, like you said, it could be like a blind spot deal, and there could be a situation if it's a church discipline issue where it's like, hey, I talked to you about this. This isn't like now and so you're bringing a couple, maybe some elders that are closer to that individual, and be like, we're not doing this. Like, this is not allowed, and this is why. Here's biblical backing and all that stuff. But it's just a little more weight to it than just me going up to somebody. And so again, like I said, these principles working for a lot of different scenarios. And so it'd be different if you're going someone that you're going to talk to about something that's like maybe just, I don't know, something, an issue between you and them, or whatever, or as opposed to like teaching heresy or living in a lifestyle that doesn't conform to Christ. But yeah, it's definitely the situations can vary vastly, but the same steps work in all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wesley goes on to say, well, if that doesn't work, then you need to tell the church. I think this is up for interpretation. I don't think he means stand up in front of everybody and go, hey, this guy over here, he's been doing this one thing that none of y'all know about. Well, now I'm going to tell you about it. I don't think that's what he means. And you may have different thoughts. In my mind, the idea is that, okay, we need to get the church involved as far as like the pastors, Sunday school teacher, a life group leader, whatever that looks like in your church. And so the idea is that we're going to get, and I put in here involve the community, but obviously it's not going to be the whole church family, but it's going to be a bigger group of people than 3 or 4. And it may be some people who again have shepherd, kind of are shepherd over you or over that person. And Wesley kind of went on to say that the idea is that if they resist and they go, no, y'all are wrong, then we should step back, obviously not hate, put up some boundaries. And his thought in this was it's about protecting the group, not shaming the person. So I thought that was an interesting take. I've never thought about it like that, protecting the group. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so again, most of my thing,
But it makes sense, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think of church discipline when I kind of think of these most. I get that's because I have a teenage daughter. But like, it's very much of like, say, tell it to the church, take it to the church. I think depending on the situation, that could be, like you said, just leadership. Though leadership plus those in his clique at the church, or whatever you want to call it, this little community. But I think there are other instances and you've got Big C Church here, so you got to tell. That's a lot of people you got to tell.
You can fix it.
But I think that there are other instances where it would be brought up. Not that you like carry him up, but if oh nice. If there's something going on, like let's say I start teaching a Sunday school and I start preaching about how like we're supposed to have if we commit jihad, we get to go to heaven and have all these virgins and stuff, and start like just preaching straight up heresy. And they're like, okay, Aaron. So they come to me one like, what are you talking about? Like, is this like a brain exercise? I'm like, no, I really believe it. So then they're like, okay, well, you're not going to be a Sunday school teacher anymore, right? I keep just telling everybody at the church, like, and I had something of a leadership role. I keep telling all this stuff, and they're like, hey, you got to keep doing this. And then finally they go like, okay, fine, Aaron, you're out. Like you don't come back here until you have it, until you've come into Christ and have a change of heart and stop preaching this heresy. Then they probably need to tell the whole church, hey, listen, Aaron Miller's full of crap. He's been preaching this. This is wrong. This is why. And he's not allowed back in the building until further notice. Right. Yeah. And I think that like that's a healthy boundary, And I think that when we think of setting boundaries, a lot of times we think of like physical people who might commit physical harm. But there's a difference between someone who does not claim to be a Christian coming in and speaking falsehoods, as opposed to someone who claims to be a Christian and comes in and speaks falsehoods. Does that make sense? And so there is a time where you have to be like, nope. I don't know if you've ever seen John Wick, but you are now excommunicado. So
that's right.
No,
I think that's a great point. And I think that it just, it comes back to Wesley's intent here, and then that he was just trying to stop this cycle of gossip and slander and just, everybody talking about everybody, he really was trying to just get it to stop. And so I think, our part in that today is to try and refuse to hear it. If you don't give gossip life, it dies. I
Yeah.
tell the people that work for me all the time, like, we need to stay in our lane. There's a lot going on where I work at, a lot of moving parts, a lot of people. And everybody loves to talk, and that's just not exclusive to my workplace. That's everywhere. Right. But I tell my people, like, we need to stay in our lane. Like, we need to worry about public safety, and because we have enough to worry about, and so I think that's really important as Christ followers, is that we just don't participate. And if it starts to happen, then we got to make some decisions as far as turning around and walking out. I used to it never failed when I was at the sheriff's office. We'd all go out to eat, for lunch or something, and there'd be a big pile of us, and cops love to talk and play chess, and this person's going to promote here, and then this person can go here, and this person can do this, and then I just out of the blue be like, "Hey, did I tell you about that jazz album I was listening to?" And everybody kind of look at me and go, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, man, picked up this jazz album the other day. It's fantastic." And they'd be like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's really good. You need to go listen to it." And then there'd just be this awkward, like, kind of like silence, and then the gossip wouldn't be there anymore. They'd be like, "Whatever, do what?" And they just kind of roll their eyes or whatever. So I mean, that was just kind of my silly way of trying to just change the flow, if you will.
So, is it gossip or slander if you start the sentence by saying, "We need to pray for so and so because"?
You're talking about the number one gossip mill in modern church, the prayer list?
That's right.
Oh man, it's what a I'm sure that the majority of people that involved in that situation, their hearts are in the right place, but there is that small percentage that just, now he told me this and he told me not to tell y'all nothing, but we really need to pray for so and so because, and then it's like, well, good Lord, where
Yeah.
this fellow thought he could trust you. So prayer chain. That's funny. So I put in here, when is it okay? And Wesley actually addressed that. He talks about speaking evil only to prevent harm. And he says to use it sparingly, like really strong medicine.
Like old Grandad 114.
Yeah, like old Grandad 114. That's right. I think that, it matters because it can divide the body of Christ. And it can affect your witness, your testimony.
Yeah. So here's my question.
Okay.
If you're preventing harm, right?
Okay.
Are you speaking evil?
I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. That's my question. Like, I mean, so I guess going off the definition from earlier, I guess this is where that criticism thing comes in again, right? I don't think that to me that's like saying okay, don't shoot anybody, but if they're going to kill somebody else, shoot them, right? Or if they're going to hurt lots of people, then it's okay to kill them.
Okay.
But that doesn't make what you like. So if you have a justified killing, your actions weren't sinful. Like, it wasn't wrong to do that.
Right.
And so I think by saying it's okay to speak evil to prevent harm, it's still saying, like, well, it's okay to sin a little bit to stop bigger sin. But I just don't like the that word usage there, I guess, because I think if it's okay to use it, it's no longer evil.
Right.
So maybe I'm just math thinking this too much, because mathematics, something is either 100% true or it's false. And so if it's 99.9% true, it's still 100% false. So that's, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that, not to get like really far off, but like, that's a logical fallacy, because if it's 100% wrong, then it can't be 100% right. But if it's 100% right, like, there's like a fallacy there,
No,
like, to me, that's
something's either 100%, like, to be true has to be 100% factual. Otherwise it's false. no matter what percentage of that statement is correct.
Right.
And so,
Okay. So then now it just feels like we're like tiptoeing along like some very dangerous, like legalistic stuff, right?
well, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I just don't like the word "speak evil, only prevent harm." Well, no. So, it's no longer speaking evil.
So what would you call it if it's not speaking evil? What would it be in your mind?
Speaking. I mean, like, say, I don't know. Like, so what I would say is like, is when is it okay to speak evil? Never, because it's speaking evil. But like, when you look at whether, like, when would you say, hey, should I? So like, obviously, slander is never going to stop harm. Neither is gossip, but or rumors, because rumors aren't even true. So like, criticism is what we're left with. So like, when I said that we should be slow to critique, right? I said that like at the very beginning of this thing. So preventing harm. So I would say, like, when is it okay to criticize? I would say, yeah, I think that would be better. Use it sparingly, but you want to use it to prevent harm, like either to the body, to that person, or to others around that person, right? So, as far as
can you think of an example? I know we're like spitballing this here, but could you think of an example of when it would be absolutely necessary to prevent harm by speaking evil?
No, like when, like to lie and make up a rumor or slander.
I mean, yeah. Let's use the lie, like a lie. Like, when would it be okay to lie or gossip or slander to prevent harm?
See, I can't think of a situation where they would prevent harm.
Right.
I mean, unless you're like, well, actually, I guess, that wouldn't really be speaking evil, because that'd be like, I mean, what's her name? Rahab, right? Like, she lied to protect the spies, and like is in the Hall of Fame for it. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's
and
not
that
really,
may be why, like, Wesley tells us, or not tells us, but that's why he in his sermon he said that it must be done sparingly and with care.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
and then
for
he
instance,
uses the analogy of administering, dangerous medicine.
Yeah, like, so if you were a Christian hiding Jews in World War II in Germany, right? And they come in to your house and they're like, are you hiding Jews here? And you lie and say no. Well, technically that's speaking evil because you're lying.
Right.
But I wouldn't call it speaking evil, because I think that you're doing a greater good, right?
Right.
So I guess that's the only thing, is like, if it's necessary and correct to do it, then it's no longer speaking evil. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're just speaking, right?
You're just speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of time, to get down to the I guess the root of it. Sorry, I'm kind of hijacking this over one little word you got in your outline, but
that's good.
Like, speaking evil, like, why do you gossip? Why do you slander? What is your reason for criticizing or spreading rumors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that's why criticism is the one I can pull out, because you can be criticizing somebody because you care for them. But 95% of the time we criticize something is because we're trying to make ourselves feel more important, look better, that kind of thing.
Right.
Same thing with gossip, slandering, and spreading rumors. Like, right? Like, why does everybody gossip? Like, you want to be the guy that's got all the stories, or the gal that's got all the stories, right? You want to be, I'm the first one. Did you hear about this? Like, let me impart some knowledge on you you don't know.
Attention,
yeah.
Pride, ego.
And so the reason it's speaking evil is because you're making, it's all about you, right? And it's going back to the original sin of, like, ye be like God, right?
Right.
Whereas if you are telling a lie to protect some people, or you're criticizing, I guess slander could be to protect somebody. Like, if you're like, hey, like, I'll slander this guy right now because it protects people. Like, don't listen to Joel Osteen. He's full of a bunch of crap. He's a liar and a crook, right?
Yeah.
He's not here. But he might listen to this. I don't know. He should. But people need to know not to listen to him because he's not really preaching the gospel. It's a bunch of garbage that he spews out. So that's slandering, but the emphasis is not because, hey, we're better. No, it's like, don't be harmed by his bad theology. Don't be led down a bad road. So I don't think that's just speaking. It's no longer like it's not like I have ill intentions. I don't hope he dies, you know?
Yeah. Well, and to like carry on like your analogy, you know, we've brought it up before, that Instagram page, the Holy Nope, you know, I mean, he takes other people's videos and basically publicly, he doesn't berate them, you know, but I mean, he kind of makes fun of them,
Yeah.
you know, and granted, I think you know what I mean. Like he's not, I mean, all he does is make faces and go, nope, and then walks off, you know,
Yeah.
but he still has taken other people's videos and sermons and thoughts and he kind of plays off of that. So I can follow your thought in that because again, you know, you're trying to protect somebody in that regard. So I get that. I'll have to dig into this a little bit more. I'm gonna have to ask my friend David and see if he has some thoughts on this. He's way more Wesleyan than I am, and so yeah. So to kind of like close up here, kind of, you know, well, what would this look like today for us as men? I already mentioned one, but like at the workplace, you know, I was world famous for hitting them with that. Did I tell you about that jazz album? Yeah, Miles Davis, man, it's crazy. You know, and it got to the point where they would start asking me about it. And so I would like, because I'm a jackleg, like I'd done some research, you know, so I was able to spout off some facts about this Miles Davis album. You know, you need to listen to it. It's a transitional. It was a transitional chord change in the first 30 seconds that really redefined modern jazz. Like I went in, but again, it's kind of silly, but I mean, really, like changing the topic always works. You know, before I used to tell everybody about my jazz album, I'd tell them about the $5 I found the other day. Oh, really? You know, yeah, found $5. Crazy, huh? And then we move on. So definitely changing the topic online. I thought this was interesting, and I put in here to correct or not correct. I think that for my money, like, so anybody can get online and say anything they want. You know, is it worth your sanity? Is it worth anything that you have going to get involved in these? I think no. My first feeling is going to be no, because ultimately the chances of you correcting someone online through a YouTube comment or a forum post is going to be like little to none. And I think that you know, you're just wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, and it's easier in my mind to just kind of move on. What do you think?
Well, if you're on the Manhood Neat podcast YouTube page, you definitely should be leaving comments and correcting people. But other than that, it's a waste of time. No, I agree. I mean, there's times I've engaged, I guess some, but it's very few and far between. Normally, I guess the bad thing is normally I just kind of like to poke the bear on there. But yeah, same. Yeah, it's a waste of time. Like I really think the majority of the time, if you have to utilize this type of speak, it definitely needs to be face to face.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, relationships, man, they're huge. I mean, they're the foundation for everything, you know, especially if you're going to, like you said, dig into some of these more in-depth, you know, conversations. You got to have some common ground. So, and then the last thing, I know family's not always easy for everybody. Some people have incredible families and some people have trash families. So either way, and you may be in the middle somewhere, you know, at what point do you address this with your family? You know, do you hit them with that jazz album you've been listening to? Do you just change your scene and just go to another room? You know, and
you just change
think,
just change and get a new family.
Yeah, change states.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, there's always an option to go somewhere. But I know it's not always easy because, you know, we do have families who, you know, think a certain way, lean a certain way, and it's not always easy. So I think that, you know, we have to be mindful of, are we honoring the Lord, you know, in that? Are we going to honor our wives by digging off in her aunt because her aunt's a crazy liberal from up north, or she's a ultra right conservative from Florida, because like, those are both really easy people to pick on. But I think, you really just have to be mindful in this regard, because I mean, what does it benefit, Yeah. So,
Yeah. I think family, again too, that is probably going to be one of the places that I would like, I guess, just address it head on faster,
sure.
like, no, it's not like, let's just not do this here. No.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be. I think that's something too is, especially when it's the one-on-one, we go back up to that and we'll kind of close out. But it doesn't have to be aggressive. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like, a lot of times you can, like almost like you can make a joke about something, letting them know that what the point of the joke is, you're actually kind of serious, right? Without making anybody feel embarrassed or attacked or anything like that. So,
Yep.
and I think with family, sometimes that's, again, if it's your crazy Aunt Mildred and every Thanksgiving you're gonna have to, she's gonna be spewing the same stupid flat Earth, flat Earthism, just let it go, like whatever. But if you've got a brother or a sister or a parent that's constantly slandering somebody, it's probably one that you could be like, I love you,
Yeah.
but you got to stop. Like, we got to kill this. We got because
That's right.
so
That's exactly right. Well, and in closing, the idea, because I did read this sermon and I read kind of some kind of brief, summaries and commentaries on this. Oddly enough, I didn't hit the one thing. I didn't read the one thing you and I dug into the most was about speaking evil. Um, but Wesley's intent behind this was it was supposed to be both a preventative medicine and a cure. He kind of closes this sermon with a pretty fiery call to discipline for Methodists, to be disciplined in this way of life, in this speaking evil. He wanted Methodists and ultimately Christians to be an example of love and unity that can convict the world. And I think that's an incredible thought, that our behavior and the way we carry ourselves could convict someone of the way they behave and the way they carry themselves. Like, I think that's a very powerful testimony. So, ultimately this was a practical guide to kind of confronting sin, preserving relationships, and really upholding our Christian witness. And then, kind of in closing, the verse that kind of other people referenced to this sermon, but Wesley never references it directly, is Matthew 10:14. And it says, if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. So those are my thoughts.
good stuff. Yeah, I agree. I think just people should notice that we speak differently about other people, right? As Christians. And what I will say too, I guess, is if you utilize something less often, when you do use it, people take notice. Like for
That's
instance,
right.
I don't often put my foot down and say, no, we are not doing that in this house, right? We're not. This is the game plan. We're not going this. What you guys are doing, we're not doing. Especially
Yep.
with my wife. So when I do say no, we're not going to do that, and here's why. My wife's pretty quick to listen. She's like, okay, there's a big reason for this, right? And so I say with like criticism, especially if we're not always criticizing people, and we go to somebody and with a critique that we're close to. I mean, that's the caveat in all this. And you're like, hey,
Yep.
listen, I noticed this. You might think about this, and this. They're probably going to listen a little bit more, as if every time you go over, you're like, well, you should cut your grass. You're only cutting it 3 inches. It really should be 3.5. And like just all these dumb things, always judging everything they do. But when you just use it sparingly, it's going to have more power to it. So, again, another practical application to this that just makes. But yeah, so yeah, good stuff. Let's close in prayer, and we'll let the listener go about his business.
All right. Are you closing or am I?
I'll close.
Okay.
All right. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this time. We just thank you for your word and how it just, in all aspects of our lives, Lord, it gives guidance and direction. It is fully sufficient. for all things, and we just thank you for it. We thank you for this time. I thank you for D-Watt and for his friendship and just this chance to do this together and do this. I thank you for the listener. Lord, I just pray that you be with him. I pray that you would be in our hearts and minds constantly, that we would utilize our language and our verbiage to uplift others and point them to you, to glorify you. May we just navigate that well. It's a hard thing to navigate, truth and love, and we just ask, Lord, that you just give us wisdom and discernment in how to do that. Again, we just thank you for all that you do, and just be with the listener and us until we gather again next time, and we give you all the honor and glory. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Manhood Neat podcast. Hey, have you seen the Y'all Bible?
No.
Yeah, so there's this new Bible, and anytime that it's the Greek plural version of you, it uses the word y'all, and if it's the single Greek version of you, it uses you. So you can distinguish in whether it was talking to you personally or y'all as to the church. Thought it was interesting.
I gotta see that. That's great.